Hello, today we're going to be working on a 2007 Honda Accord. We're going to be replacing the strut, lower control arm, upper control arm, and the sway bar stabilizer. So you're going to need a 17mm on one side, this bolt at the bottom of the wishbone, and a 17mm on the nut on the other side. Apart. Once you get the nut off, just tap it out. You're going to need to take a punch to knock out that bolt. Put a pry bar right here and then just push up to get that bolt out. And you'll be able to pull it out. You get the nut 14mm off the bottom of the strut. I'm using a breaker bar because it's super tight. It's a 14mm. Taking it off. Once you break it free, put a ratchet on it. And remove the top. Now we're under the hood on top of the strut. I'm going to take off these three 14mm and these two 12s. And there we go with the two 12s. Loosen the last one, so I can reach underneath and screw it by hand. So I'm going to hold it down here and then unscrew the top. So I'm holding the strut, I'm going to loosen, I'm going to push down everything and then separate the strut from the wishbone. Sorry, it's just hard to film and do the work, but just push everything down, the wishbone will slide out. So now we got the wishbone off, strut loose, and pull it out. Push down right here and slide it out the side. I just pushed right here on the rotors with my arm as I pulled it out. So it came out pretty easy. There's the old strut, the new one I'm going to put in. Here's the new one, old one. Everything looks pretty good. Bolt pattern looks the same. PR1V. Take this 10mm off. The control arm. Replace that. If you have to replace the shock, might as well replace the upper control arm. They're already in here. Get that out of the way. And take the upper control arm apart, remove this nut. Check out this cotter pin. And this 17mm castle nut. You just have to hit this right here until that pops free. I'm going to move the upper control arm, two 14mm bolts. I'll remove the upper control arm. So here's the replacement. Looks pretty much the same. I will have to put the grease fitting on it. This is the fitting's a 3/8, so So we need a 3/8 for that. Tighten that up. Alright, slide up in the upper control arm. Line it up. Start. And tightening the bolts. Alright, we got the upper control arm tightened up. We'll torque them up. So torque them up to 23 foot-pounds. You'll be good to go. So I'm going to put the strut under the cable. Get up through the holes. Line it up. And tighten it on top with one nut. Tighten one up so it holds it. Once you get all the new nuts tightened up, they're 15 millimeters. Stabilizer bars are 13. Torque it down at 37. Alright, we're going to slide the wishbone back on the strut, and then we're going to twist it so we can get that notch lined up in the groove. Alright, we got the wishbone back on the strut. We'll tighten it up. Tighten the strut nut to 37 foot-pounds. Push it up with my knees here. So we got the castle nut back on. Gotta tighten it up. Upper control arm nut for the ball joint. It's 35. Torque it to 35 foot-pounds. Comes with a new cotter pin. Tighten it to 10 millimeter. Blow it back by the strut. Take the 17 millimeter off. There we go. Use 17 millimeter breaker bar to break that loose. Let's take the stabilizer off. It's 14 millimeter. Screw the inside of the stabilizer. And do the same thing for both sides. You need that channel lock on there. It should come right out. There it is. So, same size, comes with all new hardware. And we give it like 5 good whacks right here. And that'll break free that ball joint where you can get the lower control arm off. Now we're going to go over here and remove the lower control arm bolt. 17mm. I would remove the 19mm to remove the rest of the control arm. I'm using a breaker bar to break it free. Get the 19mm out. Take up the 19mm bolt. Goes. Looks the same aftermarket in the factory. Let's put it back together. It's a Moog lower control arm. It was hard for me to film and get this ball joint back in here. But I slide in the lower control arm there and there, but it pretty much had to line up the lower ball joint there first, and it would slide in evenly. So sorry, couldn't get it on film, but it's working back in. Got it back in, tighten it back up. So you might need to pry up on the lower control arm right here while you screw it in to make sure it's level. You get that bolt back in. Torque the lower control arm bolt 17mm down to 61 pounds. Get to 61 foot-pounds. Alright, the fork on the lower control arm, had to fight a little bit, then I'm going to knock in the bolt. Just tighten it up. Torque it to 47 pounds. We're good to go. Slide the ball joint back in and tighten it up. 17mm. We're torquing it to 61. And then we're gonna, after we torque it to 61, turn a little bit more so you can see the hole for the cotter pin. Alright, we're gonna put the stabilizer on. You're gonna have to grip the inside of the bolt and tighten up with 17mm. The new nut's a 17mm. You do the same thing. Put a pair of needle nose vice grips on the inside and then tighten it up. It's supposed to be 22 pounds. I can't get a torque wrench in there, so I think that'll be good. Everything's replaced. We replaced the upper control arm, the strut, the lower control arm, and the stabilizer link. I will grease the fitting, and we'll put the tire back on. Thanks for watching. If this video helped you out, leave it in the comments below.